Am I the asshole if I expose my mum's money problems to my dad after she spent my tuition? I, 20 female, have always supported my mum, 43 female, even financially, and I usually try to understand her side. My dad, 44 male, works overseas and sends money twice a month for groceries, bills, and school. He usually sends it to my mum, who then distributes it. Earlier this month, my dad came home after working abroad for 6 months. He had all of our expenses mapped out, including my tuition since I'm an incoming second-year aeronautical engineering student, which is really expensive where I live. He gave my mum around $1,000 for my enrollment fee, and that's like 60% of the whole tuition fee. What my dad didn't know was that I still had a $350 balance from my previous semester. My mum used part of the $1,000 for that balance, and I agreed not to tell my dad because I trusted she'd figure out a way to cover the rest. Fast forward to last week, I finished my documents, reserved my enrollment, and was waiting for the tuition payment. That's when I found out my mum had already used the remaining money for reasons she won't explain. She's been trying to recoup it, but nothing has come through. Prior to that, she told me she'll never touch my enrollment money since it'll be hard to recover. Today is the last day of late enrollment. If my tuition isn't paid by 6 p.m., I lose my slot. I've already missed 2 weeks of classes, including major and lab subjects, and I completely broke down. I told my mum that I'm tired of always having to compromise because she borrows or misuses money. I told her if this continues, I will have no choice but to tell my dad everything. Not just about my tuition, but also about her gambling and borrowing habits that I've helped cover up for years. The problem is, if I tell him, my parents will have a huge fight, and he'll never trust her with money again. But I'm exhausted, and now my education is on the line. Am I the asshole if I finally tell my dad the truth? In the comments, Totally Freaking Out says, "Tell your dad. It sounds like she may have a gambling addiction. Either way, it's financial abuse in my opinion. Your dad has a right to know what's happening with their money and to not be lied to." OP says, "I actually considered telling him multiple times, but I'm just afraid of what the consequences will be, as the last time this happened, they had a huge fight and Dad wanted an itemized list of expenses. It was only recently he went lax, and this is what happens." Well, the consequences would have been a huge fight and your tuition paid. Covering for her is enabling her. If you want to help her, tell your father, and both of you can get her into gambling or shopping addiction therapy. Going forward, your father and you should be in charge of money. OP replies, "I already told my dad about it, and I think they'll have a long talk once he gets back to our hometown. I study in the city 3 to 4 hours from there. But yeah, he decided he'll be sending the money directly now instead of letting Mum handle it. Aside from groceries, since my siblings are still too young to do so, and he's back to work next month." Atmosphere Life asks, "Were you able to get the money to go back to school?" And OP says, "Yup." First of all, I'm sorry that you're in this situation. Honestly, I know it's difficult supporting someone when you know you shouldn't. I've been there. I don't think your mum will pay until the deadline. And even if she will, what about next semester or something else important? You are not the asshole for telling your dad, but you are one for not telling him sooner. If he finds out that you covered for mum, he might be mad at you too. And rightly so. Be completely honest to him and prepare for a changed relationship with both parents. OP says, "I'm not gonna lie, she already did this too last year, even using the money that I earned from doing art commissions to pay her debts. The only time I managed to use that money for myself was when I bought a gaming keyboard. I didn't really tell him at first, since before she managed to recover it, it's just now that I can't really tolerate it because I benefited from it before. I know my faults." I understand why people are being harsh on OP in this situation, but we don't all really grow up knowing that our parents are gambling addicts, and we don't grow up knowing exactly what to do about those things, so enabling and normalizing it makes sense to me. It's good that the community isn't being too crazy on OP being like, "You're a bad person for allowing it to continue for this long. You're a flawed and disgusting person." Like, no, that would be a bit crazy. That would be too much. I know there was that one person saying you're an asshole for not telling your dad sooner. I've got some empathy in the tank for OP for that one though, because you don't really want to go rocking the boat too much, do you? You don't want to get in strife with your parents. You don't know how crazy mum's gonna go if you start bringing dad into the mix, and you don't want to start fighting mum behind his back. But apart from that, I'm glad that it's all out in the open now. And now, on to the update. Hello again, and I do apologize if it took a while for the update. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their responses, as it helped me to see that my mum's behavior should have never been allowed to continue. I fully accept the criticisms about me, and I know my wrongdoings. Second, I told my dad about the situation, and while he was mad at first for me not telling him earlier, well, not the angry type, but the disappointed type, he managed to find a way to secure the funds for my tuition fee. I also managed to get enrolled just this Saturday, though I missed 2 weeks' worth of classes, as well as an assessment. I spent the following days sending emails to my professors so I could catch up. Dad had a bit of a talk with Mum through a video call, since Mum is currently in our hometown, while my dad and I are in the city. I study in the city, while my dad was here for his documents and medical. He pressed on questioning her until it was revealed that she gambled the money in hopes of getting a high return to pay the money that she owes to various people, as well as return the money that was supposed to be for my education. Now, some of you might be wondering why my dad would finance my college. I'm actually from the Philippines, so culture here is a bit different, as there would be parents who would work so they can send their kids to college, and my dad happens to be one of those. Anyways, I told my dad about the money that she owed to my friends as well, and he found himself questioning why my mum would borrow money when he sent most of his salary to us, which is admittedly more than enough if there had been no loans to pay. Since then, however, my younger sister told me that mum seemed down, like she has no fight left and gave up completely. She was unusually quiet too. I have no idea what else is happening since she hasn't talked to me or dad ever since. I did send a message to my mum explaining why I did what I did, and I do ask about her to my siblings since she had deactivated her account. Hopefully when she comes here to the city to switch with my dad, who will then look after my siblings before he has to work again, we can at least bring back some of that bond that we had before this entire fiasco happened. Once again, thank you all so much for the kind and warm reception towards my dilemma, and I hope that none of you will go through what I experienced. In the comments, sounds like she has a gambling problem and is in deep with people. Or she got scammed, or both. Your mother definitely has a gambling problem. She's also down because she knows she has a problem and very nearly derailed your future with it. She's coming to terms with how much she messed up. I hope she figures it out and starts to improve herself. This kind of person is never down because of how they affect other people. The mum is down because she was found out. If she had felt that she was derailing her child's future by gambling with the money, she never would have gambled with it in the first place. She's not sorry she did it, she's sorry she was found out. Exactly. Mum is down because she now knows that it will be harder for her to get her hands on money earmarked for her children. She doesn't care about her impact on others. Addicts rarely do. You were definitely not the asshole. Your parents are, though. He knew that she had money issues and expected her to change without help? Really? So what you're saying here is that dad provides and mum gambles away tuition money and asks her child to lie to dad, so dad provides again, and you declare both of OP's parents the asshole? Okay. Reddit brain strikes again. He knew that she had money issues and he expected her to change without help. Curious. Oh my god, he just skipped the part where OP is feeling insanely guilty for holding this information and keeping up a charade for so long. And he's like, oh, he of course knew. Oh, of course, man. And just ignores all the comments of everyone being like, OP, you're a bit of an arsehole to your dad for keeping him in the dark. These comments never fail to surprise me, because what is that logic? Some people can change, for sure, and she did have money problems in the past, I will admit that. But if you didn't see it continuing, and you don't hear anything about it, you just assume She realized the error of her ways and she wanted to be better, not that she is a full-blown gambling addict and is kind of abusing her kids and getting them to cover. With him being overseas, I can see how that would be really easy to keep up. It's unfortunate it had to come to this spot, but good on OP for standing up for themselves and doing what is right in this situation. Thank you for the story and thank you for the update. Our next post is by user, probably not a thing too, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling a coworker to read the room when he pointed out the free pizza while I was eating my own packed lunch?" So yesterday at my workplace, there was a group meeting set during the noon. As the meeting was long, my workplace decided to host a free lunch period, basically pizza and other food. This was mentioned beforehand in an email sent to everyone, and due to various personal and family-related reasons, I take my own packed lunch to work. I can't see myself eating both my lunch and the free food provided, as that would be impossible, plus I don't want to waste my own lunch. After the first half of the meeting, we had lunch in the room itself. I opened up my own bag, while a lot of people went to go get the pizza. After like a few minutes, one coworker, whom I've never spoken to before, as I've only started 3 weeks ago, came up to me and said something like, "Hey, there's free pizza if you want it." This is where I got a bit annoyed, because 1, the pizza boxes were literally across the room. Obviously they were there, and 2, I was very clearly eating my own lunch, which I thought made it clear that I decided to forego the free work-provided lunch. So I told him something along the lines of, "No thanks, I have my own lunch as you can see. That means I'm not going for the free pizza." He said okay, and then left. Later after work, I told my parents about this when they asked me about what we did at work, and they said I was being rude by saying that, saying I could have left it at "no thanks." Granted, I was a bit annoyed, but I thought my simple explanation to my coworker was diplomatic and further clarified what was going on. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, Swirly Flurry says, "You're the asshole. Your coworker did read the room, he just didn't read your mind, and you got upset about it. I don't know why you felt so annoyed or needed to be rude. I guess you are the asshole here because your coworker certainly wasn't. 3 weeks in, and this is the impression you want to give to someone you're working with? Yeah, you came in hot and annoyed for no reason. Just say, 'I know, I'm good though, next time.' He probably didn't want you to feel excluded. Maybe he just didn't think that you knew that you could have some because you're new. There is always awkwardness when it comes to free food given out, and you're the newbie. I don't know if this is like your first adult job or something. Try and get along with your coworkers before you snap at them, especially for no reason. Your work life will be a lot better if you're kind. Are you perhaps neurospicy? It's not a bad thing, of course, but it may provide some context about this. This situation was pretty innocuous, but it feels blown out of proportion. A very blunt response with no real reason to be annoyed or upset. It wasn't malicious sounding, so try not to assume otherwise." OP says, "Yeah, that was what I realized too. I'll stick with just, 'I know, I'm good, from now on. Thanks.' And yeah, this is actually my first job ever, and I have Asperger's. I'm not saying those are excuses, but they're probably part of the reason why. Definitely makes sense. Life is hard, and you're learning. We all have times where social cues are hard. Never mind the fact that you're new, in a new environment with new people. It's a lot, and overwhelming. At least it was just over pizza this time. If you want, you could apologize to the coworker and just be like, 'Hey, I'm sorry that I was short with you in my response. I appreciate that you're looking out for me. I'm new to this, so I need to work on my tone. I'm OP, by the way.' You don't need to mention your Asperger's at all. You also could potentially restart a potential work friendship. An apology and accountability is super important. Also, just try and laugh this off. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal, just try not to make it a reoccurring thing." OP says, "Thanks for your kind words. And yeah, I'm definitely going to apologize to him in the next time we meet. Your template apology, of course swapping out OP for my name lol, is honestly perfect. I will certainly follow it. Also, Thanks for your input on me not needing to mention my Asperger's to anyone except HR, who already knows and has formal documentation since I got hired. I was debating this, especially considering that my Asperger's should never be used as an excuse. Even so, I'm worried that I might come off as using it as an excuse when I'm not. Edit. Hey there. Thanks to everyone for giving me their insights and pointing out what I did was wrong. I've learned my lesson well. I was very much the asshole in this scenario. I failed to understand at the moment why saying something like, "I have my own lunch, as you can see," is inherently rude. And now I know that it was not acceptable at all. Though I didn't understand the social nuance of this interaction at first, due to my Asperger's, that is by no means any excuse for my actions, and I'm still responsible for what I say. Next week, I plan on speaking to the coworker the next chance I get and apologizing to him for my actions and words. He definitely didn't deserve to be treated that way by me. Thanks again to everyone for their input. I really do appreciate it. I may update on what happens and tie everything up on a good note at work. Just put it down to no beginner's luck on social interactions, unfortunately. I would like to think we've all been there in some capacity, and just maybe not been in the right mood during that time, and said something in jest, I would like to think. I didn't particularly mean it, Your Honor. You see, I spilt my coffee on myself this morning, and that's why I was in a mood, I was in a funk, I was rude to my coworker. Please, get me off the charges. But yeah, OP's new to the job, new environment, new people that they've never really associated with. This is a new scenario that they've not really tackled before. We're not perfect. We're not going to know the perfect words and actions to have in every situation. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, it's just common sense. You shouldn't say shit like that. And I just don't think that particular advice is helpful. I'm really glad that everyone was able to spell it out to OP in regards to how their approach to the situation was wrong and what they can do next time and what they can do to fix the situation as it stands. That was really nice to see, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, bit of a you're the asshole for that one, even though it wasn't intentional. And now, on to the updates. After thinking about my behavior towards my coworker and getting feedback from the comments, I realized that I was indeed very much being an ass to my coworker. At the time, I felt he was belittling me, but I realized this is not the case upon retrospect. My response to him was not at all diplomatic. In particular, I should not have said something like, "No thanks, I already have lunch, as you can see." But just saying, "No thanks, I already have lunch," was good enough and the polite version. So because of this, I made up my mind to apologize to him the next time I found him. Luckily today, I found him randomly in the hallway. I went up to him and said I was sorry for being inadvertently rude to him and that I took full accountability for it. That I was aware that he was making sure that I, a new employee, was feeling welcome, and I didn't initially realize that I came off as incredibly rude. He took it very well and told me, "Don't apologize for it," and that he understood. Although there was a little hitch where he was a bit surprised when I told him that I was a new employee. At the time of the first post, I was only 3 weeks in, so yes, I was a new employee. He said something along the lines of, "Didn't you join in June as the adjunct?" I remember that. To which I said, "No, I started here 3 weeks ago, and I work in an entirely different position." We eventually figured out it was just a minor mix-up, and we both laughed it off. In retrospect, I realize it's possible maybe I wasn't too specific enough about the lunchtime incident, and he may have still been thinking about a different event, but I was a bit nervous at the time and didn't think that. In any case, I'm glad I was able to end things on a good note and learning a bit more about what real diplomatic workplace relationships look like. In the comments, Riker Omega 3 says, "Huzzah for adult communication. It's refreshing to see mature adults talking things out for a change. The internet makes it seem like everyone has completely lost their collective minds." OP replies, "Yeah, that seems to be a recurring thing that happens on the internet, but luckily there are some good interactions in the world, and hopefully more to come." Well, they did need Redditors to convince them to do it, but hey, a win is a win. Oh, come on, nobody's perfect, and everyone has blind spots to their own behavior or personality. OP had enough introspection to come to Reddit for advice, listen to the advice they received, and then act on it to improve themselves. That's a positive thing, not a negative. I agree, and there is someone just filling out that notion of, well, it's just common sense. You shouldn't have to go to Reddit for common sense. But they did finish it off with, but hey, a win is a win. Absolutely couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, some of us were born yesterday and didn't get an instruction manual. Some of us were actually born with the advice to do the opposite of what OP did. And that's the environment that some people are raised in. Sometimes you do need places like Reddit to bring you back to a more socially acceptable middle ground. And I respect OP for coming to do that. I was thinking myself, if I were in OP's shoes, what would I have said in that situation? And I think it would have gone like, no thanks, I already have my lunch, but thank you for that, I appreciate it. I'm all good though. I think that's a pretty good middle ground. And it also, in terms of the coworker saying you don't need to apologize for that, I just feel like that's one of these cultural niceties that we have. It's like me saying, oh, no worries. I feel like you do have to apologize for things like that, and just saying, oh, you didn't have to apologize is a recognition of the apology and not them literally being like, in the future, don't apologize for your bad behavior. I don't know, guys. I'd like to know your takes on it if you have any. Our next post is by user ExileProofRock, and it's titled, My girlfriend, 33, of 7 months, wants to quit her job because I, male 31, won a significant amount of money in the lottery. So my girlfriend and I have had a pretty tumultuous relationship, which has seen us broken up twice already. I've been the initiator of the split both times, always because of her extreme, unrelenting clinginess and lack of trust. We don't live with each other, obviously. Why we're still together is a bit of a mystery to me. I love her, for sure, and we can get along well together, but we also have very different ideas of what constitutes an acceptable amount of personal space and privacy. When I try to tell her that she's smothering me, she basically shrugs and says that she isn't changing. The past 2 months, we've had a slight shelter from our usual storms, and it hasn't been as bad. She's still very clingy and constantly accuses me of chatting and meeting other girls. I haven't. Keeps close tabs on what I'm doing or who I'm hanging out with, etc., but I keep at it because I believe I'd be alone for a long time without her and am frankly afraid of that. It doesn't help that she's also told me much the same, that I would be alone without her. Cut to a few weeks ago, I won a lot of money in the lottery, paid in a lump sum. It's all very new to me and very, very surreal, and I haven't really done much with it yet at all, but talked to some financial advisors to figure it all out, but it's readily acknowledged that I'm in a position to retire. The only 2 things I've done so far is take a month off from work to sort through things and get very drunk on expensive scotch with my sister. I have a lot of friends right now. I know who my friends are and plan on doing nice things for them all. However, my girlfriend is now asking if she can quit her job. When I asked her why she would, she said because I have money. That if she had won that much money, that she'd have given me X amount of money without a thought, because that's what people do for those they love. Anyways, it didn't take me long for her to start accusing me of wanting to ditch her now that I'm rich, and how she was so stupid not to have seen it before, all because I don't want to give her a shitload of money. Why are you with her, OP? Just leave her. She's giving you permission. I'm in an awkward position now. What am I to do? I'm not a stingy or shallow person, but this relationship was rocky before all of this. I'm afraid of looking shallow, I guess, even though I believe I'm being practical, and while I'm not necessarily clamoring for us to split right now, I feel like this will be an issue as long as we're together. Sorry for rambling. Hope that makes sense. In the comments, Jess Toll says, "It's been 7 months and you've broken up twice already? Dump and run." OP says, "The argument is, I think she is overly smothering and she thinks I'm afraid of intimacy, so sometimes I second guess my rationale. But she's certainly very keen on knowing everything I do. Like if she sees that I'm online and it's not writing a lovey email to her, it's an argument all night. I realize it sounds cut and dry, but she does have her good qualities." OP, they all say that. Everyone says that. But unfortunately, the bad qualities always overshadow the good ones. You've yet to mention any. Reread what you've wrote and ask yourself, based on only what was written, what your advice to a different person who wrote that would be. Nope. You have this windfall and suddenly she thinks she's on easy street and never has to work again? Fuck that. You have much bigger fish to fry than your dating life. You need to talk to a financial consultant and find a way to make this money last so that you don't end up yet another cautionary tale. You need to learn to be appropriately selfish in a big way, and most likely, you're going to have to end your relationships with a lot of people. Otherwise, you are going to be expected to pay for pretty much everything and shamed when you don't. Don't fuck around with this. It could be the greatest or worst thing that has ever happened to you. OP says, you hit the nail on the head. I do feel ashamed of thinking selfishly, and I think I worry about being perceived as such. It's amazing how much some people have opened up to me the past few weeks. Edit, thank you all for taking the time to respond. I think I'm taking my anxiety with the whole situation in general and applying it to a relationship that was on wobbly legs already. I'm afraid of having to make tough, selfish decisions with a lot of out-of-the-woodwork people, but this is clearly a no-brainer. The decision was essentially made before my win, even. Thanks again for your input and advice. It never ceases to amaze me just how wacky some people's normal radar is. Like, this girlfriend is giving off a ridiculous amount of red flags, just such controlling, boundary-crossing, unacceptable behavior, time after time after time. They've already broken up twice. She's already accusing him of cheating and talking to other girls. She should be the ambassador for Fruit Loops at this point. And he's like, I can fix her. She's actually normal. Oh, the crazy frog? He's more like normal frog to me. That's the kind of shit that I'm getting from OP. Why are people this bad at reading really fucked up behavior? How come it had to be Reddit to tell you that, oh, she is not a keeper? This relationship is not going to work. How many people has she told about your money? Look at her being like, well, I can quit my job now because my boyfriend of 7 months is rich and he's going to give me $1 million. Thank you, my Nigerian prince. Here is the bank account details for you to wire transfer all of that money because I've earned it. 2 breakups and cheating accusations means I've earned this money. Oh my god, I can't deal with these people. We do not occupy the same reality, obviously. And now, on to the update. So a few people have messaged me asking for an update on this situation. In a word, nightmare. Suffice to say, she was not happy when I told her that she needs to forget about the money for now and that we had serious problems in our relationship before the win that we kept sweeping aside, and all this has done is force us to have a conversation that we needed to have anyways. It got heated pretty quickly, and I felt like we kept digressing into petty arguments about old stuff instead of sticking to the main issue. She suddenly took to calling me manipulative and emotionally abusive, which took me completely off guard and had me scrambling to defend myself before it occurred to me that she was just trying to make me feel guilty again. After probably 4 or 5 hours of getting nowhere, I finally said that we are breaking up and there is nothing more to it. She got up from the couch, got her stuff, told me to go to fucking hell, and slammed the door. Next day, the texts and emails started to come in saying that no one will love me like she did, how it's sad to see how money has changed me so quickly, hoping I have fun banging superficial escorts, and on and on and on. I ignore the messages. The next day she calls, and I ignore the call. And she goes to voicemail and says she's crying, and says she needs my help, and has no one else to turn to and to please call her. I don't call her back. Thursday night around 11:30, the police are knocking at my door. Apparently a neighbor called in a loud domestic dispute from my apartment. I tell him I've been alone all night. He asks to take a look around and I say sure. He says the neighbor who called is not answering their door nor their phone and asks if I recognize the last 4 digits of a number, which I don't. So he asks if I know of any reason why someone would call the police making such a claim. I tell him I did recently break up with a girlfriend on the weekend, and we did yell, so either someone took their time to call, or my ex is not taking things well. We both agree that it is strange. I decide not to ask her about it. Over the weekend, I get a few emails/texts and calls from her that start off sweet and nostalgic and end up angry and accusing me of throwing her to the side and being heartless, among other things. From the voicemails, I can tell she's drunk. I can't resist, so I ask her by email if she knows anything about the prank call to the police, which of course she denies, and then spins it back on me. Do I really think her so petty? Why would I even think that? It just proves that I never trusted her. Back to arguing, so I don't reply. So yesterday, I log onto Facebook for the first time in a while, and I notice over the past few days, she's been adding my friends as friends. Nothing else, but it freaks me out. I send her a message asking why she's adding my friends, and she essentially says it's a free country and that she couldn't have been so bad if my friends like her too. All to say, I am wary, and I am depressed and lonely, and I have a feeling this is going to be a pain in the ass. Objectively, I know this was a good move, but subjectively, it's a whole other matter. Looking forward to normal times. Sorry again for the rant. In the comments, no one will love me like she did. Here's hoping, right? You should message your friends though, and say your ex is sending the cops to your house and such, so they should watch out if she friends them out of nowhere. OP says, I've locked my Facebook privacy settings down and emailed some friends. My closest friends and family are well in the know already, of course. Cut all ties, burn the bridges, block numbers, block on Facebook, document harassment. OP says, didn't think I'd need to block her number, but you were likely right. Nah, you need to. Every single option for communication with you is an open door to her. She's gonna try them all one by one until she finds an open one. She's like a raptor, systematically checking the electric fence for weaknesses so she knows where to attack, is all I'm saying. So do the right thing and turn the entire fence on so she can't get in no matter what. There were plenty of issues before he won the lottery. Together for 7 months and already split up twice, the relationship was on life support for basically the entirety of it. Guy never said anything nice about her, just thought she was right that he wouldn't find someone else. Some people prey on that weakness. And that's all I have for you guys today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.